Alrighty, Ro. Namo Myoho Renge. How are you today? I hope you're in good health and secure. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I'll say it right away so that you remember. You can take a moment to do that. It really helps in the algorithms to make our Sangha more apparent to people seeking information. So it helps grow our Sangha. It's a little bit of a bodhisattva act. So thank you for doing that, okay? As for the rest, supporting this channel, patrons, amazing. Buying ebooks off threefoldlotus.com or print books off lulu.com or a mandala if you need one. By all means, you can either download a digital mandala off of threefoldlotus.com, which allows you to print it any size you need for your butsudan, or you can buy one, either framed so you can hang it on the wall. Unfortunately, I don't have butsudans available online. I don't know who I can get to do that of my own design. Maybe someday. But certainly, I want you to practice with Nichiren's mandala, not somebody else's, yeah? We're practicing after all. Nichiren is our mentor, our bodhisattva, our doctrine of Shakyamuni's Lotus Sutra practice, yeah? Okay. All right, all that business taken care of. We are in the midst of an assemblage I put together. I've been doing this more and more. There are certain key subjects in Buddhism which are not very well identified individually in Nichiren doctrine, in the books, in the literature, and so forth that is out there. Nor in Buddhism in general, I have to say. When it comes to the questions we all have, certainly in the West, for things like, what is karma? And there are other questions like that. What does this mean? What does that mean? I've done entire videos on Myoho Renge and Namu Myoho Renge and Namu specifically, yeah? So you can search for those videos on the channel. More and more, though, lately, this year, I've been creating collections like this book, Nichiren On Karma, because the Gosho is so voluminous, right? There's so many books, so many writings, and they're not titled in an it's not like a library, right? Nichiren didn't write in terms of, let's talk about this term. Right? He wrote advice on how to practice and how the mind works and how Buddhism works to specific individuals. It's a person-to-person practice, Sangha, just like threefoldlotus.com or Threefold Lotus Kwun, this Sangha, right? And we discuss, saying this is the way Nichiren wrote. So he wrote his letters to individuals or to groups or in remonstration to the government, that kind of thing, like treatises, right? So if you want to know about karma, how do you know to look to, letter to Jijobo? Why would that give you any clue what's going on in that letter, right? So for us as students who want to chase down terms to better get a grasp on Buddhism, things aren't arranged that way. So I decided to start putting some books together and collect certain writings and goshos, or writings are gosho, of Nichiren's that either focus on or touch on the topic we're discussing. And that's at least a forum or a framework for me to then come along and say, okay, we're going to talk about this. We've talked about this letter before. Right, I've covered every letter I could find in the Nichiren Gosho playlist and the Nichiren Gosho 2 playlist from different sources, and I'm saying a lot. Anyway, but that's just to go over all the writings. Now, within a parameter, like in this case, karma. Let's discuss those same letters, but let's focus on the aspect of this particular subject, karma, that is discussed, if not directly, in theory, in these particular letters, to help us understand not only the definition of karma, because Shakyamuni changed the definition of karma with his introduction of his enlightenment, totally changed it, or changed its mechanism and how we can influence it. And secondly, how it is reflected in the teachings and how it is used and where it appears within the context of all of Buddhist practice, yeah? All right, blah, 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 blah. We are starting another letter to Niike in this video. And let's just get into it and see how this goes. So hopefully this idea of creating books like the last series we did was on a book I created called Nichiren On Mandala and GoHonzon, because so much confusion on what is one, what is the other, what's the difference. And it's really obvious. I try to make it obvious in Nichiren's writings when he's discussing GoHonzon without saying so. At least a translator isn't making it obvious, you know. And sometimes it's very obvious when he's talking about mandala specifically. So we've gone through that whole series. And now letter to Niike, we're going to read this in relation to Nichiren's exploration of karma. What a joy it is for us to have been born in the latter day of the law and to have shared in the propagation of the Lotus Sutra. So right away we know Niike is somebody who Nichiren is not only advising as a student, but as a co-propagator, right? And really, in the final analysis, if you're a student of Buddhism, if you're practicing Buddhism, you are, by your practice, a bodhisattva. So you are propagating. Whether I was going to say whether you knock on doors or not, but don't get me wrong, that's not the idea of propagating Buddhism. Propagation of Buddhism happens firstly with your attainment, your effort, right? And by that effort, you are radiating out a different life condition, and that people will sense that. They may not know why they're attracted to you. They may not know why they're curious about you. But it is your life state that is pulling them toward you. You will get people curious. And Shakyamuni talked about this in the sutra, right? So always be prepared to chant. Always be prepared to, your first response to somebody asking about Buddhism is Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to answer all their questions. Because why? Because only you can answer your questions. It's same for them. You can't tell them what enlightenment is or even how Buddhism works. You need to assist them, to encourage them to do it for themselves, because that's where Buddhahood comes from, right? That's my first order of business with these organizations and sects and all of that. No, you can't hand out Buddhahood. You can't withhold a mandala until somebody's qualified. We're already, Buddhahood is innate. So what are you holding back? What authority do you have to get in the way? It's so insane, right? And so Nichiren is saying, what a glorious time to have you, a like-minded person, propagate this Myoho Renge Kyo. How amazing. Right away, Nichiren treats you and I as equals, because we all are. There's a thought. How pitiful are those who, though born in this time, cannot develop a resolute conviction in this sutra. Cannot by virtue of ignorance, of not knowing about it, of not having a good friend. Right? In Buddhism, a good friend is a bodhisattva. Somebody to assist you to your own inner search and development, yeah? No one can escape death once born as a human being. Ba-dum-bump. So why do you not practice in preparation for the future? For your eventual, come on, brain, extinction, right? This body, this physicalness, in a very real way, only has a true usefulness in that from it we emerge a sentient mind. So why not tap into that sentient mind and experience everything the engine of life has to offer in your particular instantiations, moment to moment to moment to moment? What are you waiting for? It ain't going to happen after you're dead, right? When I observe what people are doing, I realize that although they profess a strong resolve in the Lotus Sutra and clasp its scrolls, again, that ownership, right? They act against the intent of the sutra and are thereby doomed to the negative, right? Difficult paths, the lower paths, right? Because instead of practicing to open GoHonzon mind, they practice to make evident to others that they're practicing. Doesn't that make me good? Again, identifying. It's the samsaric disease. You're not going to reach enlightenment because you say you're going to reach enlightenment. You're going to reach enlightenment because you experience enlightenment. Just do that. Why is that so difficult, right? To illustrate, a person has 5 internal organs, but should even one of them become diseased, it will infect all the others, and eventually the person will die. The great teacher Dengyo states that though they praise the Lotus Sutra, they destroy its heart. He means that even if people embrace, read, and praise the Lotus Sutra, if they betray its intent, they will be destroying not only Shakyamuni Buddha, but all the Buddhas in the 10 directions. In other words, their accessibility to their innate enlightened nature. They'll be quashing it because their ego will feed them with this identification disease instead of practicing, right? Single-mindedly seek Buddha, right? Nichiren, I keep repeating that, but that's a very, very important teaching of Nichiren's doctrine. People ask all the time, what should be in my head? What should I be thinking when I'm chanting? What should be going on in my mind? How do I empty my mind? All these different ways of asking, what should be going on in my head when I'm in front of my Butsudan? Okay, I'm staring at that mandala. Where am I going? What am I doing? What am I thinking? And the answer is always the same. You can't stop your because I've heard that too. How do I stop my thinking so that I can chant? Chant. That's the only thing that should be in your mind. Think about what your mind is. And Buddhism dissects this. And so we're talking about karma, right? We're talking about energy in formation, instantiating moment to moment to moment to moment. Energy isn't a thought. It's not a thing yet. And the tendencies and conditions that present it as a form, well, now it's in samsara. So what about this transition? What puts things, manifests things, instantiates things, right? I'm talking energy, molecules, photons, atoms, dirt, stars, flesh, butts, hearts, heads, rocks, trees, All of those are amalgams, huge amalgams of atoms and molecules and forces. Yeah, what manifests all of that? All of that is samsara. It's the physical reality you and I experience. That transformation of energy into, with its amalgam of tendencies and conditions, for certain atoms to combine with other atoms, from molecules to exist with other molecules, long before a sentient mind exists, right? But that as well is all a result of, a construction of, karma. Not good or bad, positive or negative. It's just an assemblage. And each one of us is experiencing our particular assemblage. Very, very similar to everybody else's, but yet slight little differences, different tendencies, under different conditions. It's a very small difference in the scope of the whole thing. But here's where our brains come in and our samsaric mind comes in. We have 8 consciousnesses, all gathered to specify, to collect data, to identify. What do I mean by identification? Not just, that's a guitar, that's a chair. But the trick that's going on in our brains, collecting this data and discriminating differences, is all really a lower function of our minds to, one, survive, because I need to know an apple from a rock. And secondly, to find what we are, right? The great questions of man. Who am I? What am I here for? Right? Those are tied to identity. So when I identify that guitar and that chair, it's not the same guitar and chair that you identify, even if we're pointing, holding, grabbing the same thing. Because your identity is tied. Maybe not obviously, but in your mind, your perception of that guitar and that chair help you to ascertain who you are, that constructed self. Because the chair isn't the chair. The chair is your perception of the chair. That's how it refers to you. Identification. But Sylvain, how else, right? Of course, that's how we experience the world. Yeah. And that in itself isn't the problem. Karma is karma. How you feel about the chair, that's not the karma. That's you imposing what? Ideas, experiences. That's another layer of your manipulation, right? Feelings. So this is where Shakyamuni comes along and says, do you realize that in that complexity of all that data that you're using to identify yourself, that just take a moment and realize that as you're busily going, data, 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 that your data center, your warehouse of collected identity, well, that identity, because the reality is nothing exists that way. Nothing. That's the trick. That's the trick we play on ourselves. We think that once we identify something, we're done. That's permanent. That's who I am. As though everything were a static, hard, self-replicating, moment to moment, is always this way. But that's just not true. And so Buddhism dissects it and goes, look, no matter how you look at everything in your life, it's never the same thing for more than an instant. Because in every single thought moment, right, which is how we perceive things with our 8 consciousnesses, right? Eyes, ears, flesh, sound, taste, blah, blah, blah. It's changing. It's moving. First of all, this illusion that I'm sitting on this chair and that nothing is, I'm in this building and boy, we're solid on Earth. Well, do you know how fast the Earth is moving? Spinning, let alone moving around the sun, moving around the solar system, moving around the galaxy, moving through the universe. Start adding up all those momentums, and it's ridiculous to think of stationary, static things. Nothing is static. Add to that the very formations, the karmic engine from which these things are appearing moment to moment, moment to moment to moment. In your body, in your environment. And why is that important? Because Shakyamuni is trying to teach us the way you experience everything is what's keeping you hooked in to the illusion. And the problem isn't the illusion so much, or the karma, or the instantiation of a moment. It's that innately, although this is real and you know it subconsciously, consciously, your ego, your constructed self, wants to rely on that. And so it's constantly rebuilding it. Oh, there's that guitar. Oh, there's that guitar. Where's that guitar I was looking for? And then, oh, you panic. I can't find my keys. Why? Is your life going to end because you can't find the keys? Relax. It's because those keys are tied to your very identity. If I can't drive the car, then I'm less me. Right? That's not the way we think about it, but that's the way we experience it. Everything that we create in life, we become horribly dependent upon for our very sense of self. And this is what Shakyamuni is pointing out. He's saying, you know, that anxiety you feel, that stress that you feel in your life, you can't seem to identify where it's coming from. It's coming from maintaining that huge database. Stop it. It's not, life isn't about that collection of identity. Well, how do I do that? I mean, I don't want to throw it all away. No. Don't throw it away. Don't burn it to the ground. Don't immolate your body. You need it to have this sentient mind. Hang on to it. But I'm asking you to experience it in the moment, into the next moment. Be part of the flow, the momentum, so that you can experience the engine of life, the making of life, the karmic flow, and live in that reality. Because when you live in that reality, nothing is out of reach, nothing needs reach, everything is happening moment to moment to moment, and you're in that flow. No anxiety, no stress. Everything is that way. Everything at once. Oh, I don't have to worry about losing anything or getting more of anything. Everything is everything every moment. It's just, right? Think about this. Do you worry about, as you sleep at night, your lungs getting up and walking away? Your liver just disappearing for no reason? If you do, then my point is made. The stress and anxiety you're feeling is totally unreasonable, yeah? But on the other side of that thinking, oh yeah, it's just going to be there because that's the karma. That's the momentum. It's much more secure. You could say it makes your identity far more rock solid, but that identity is completely different. That identity we find in Buddha-ness is an identity that is the universe, is you and I. It's Itaidoshin. It's all of us at once, not separate, not identified as specific to the collection, the database, the warehouse, but an identity that's formed of a consciousness that is all things and not. Ultimately, the experience of life rather than the things of life. It's liberated from things. That's why we use the term liberation in Buddhism. It's not because it all disappears. It's because it's no longer our construction of self. The ego suddenly, in a way you could say that evaporates, but in another way you could say the ego grows to include the universe, all things. And so that's a very humble, non-constructed, non-database, non-identified self. Because that self isn't the word self, it's the experience of moment-to-moment formation. Right? Does that make sense? So when you view karma from that perspective, well, karma is just the engine of life. It's just the momentum. How you influence it, how you are affected by your perception of it, that's your mind, not the karma. You can't blame the karma. Blame? What an odd word to use, yeah? All right, let's get back to Nichiren. So, to his point here, if your practice slips into rote ritualism so that you can say, hey, look, I got the latest book. Wow, let me read this. Okay, maybe that's useful to discuss. But what's your aim? Oh, yeah, I'm going to say it. You guys who've watched me for a while, you know I'm going there. Not intentionally, but I always end up there. Buddhism is about the mind, number one. Number two, how is it about the mind? Attitude and intent. And isn't that what Nichiren is talking about? You can become quite a scholar of all the words of Buddhism, but if your attitude is that you're better than everyone else because you know more words than they do, and your intent is to make sure everybody knows how good at it you are, what are you doing? Right? You're just caught in the trap again. Ego, 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 ego. I am this. I am the superior. No. I don't care if you only understand 10% of the words you read about Buddhism. All you got to do is chant Namo Myo Renge Kyo with the mind, the intent on being in this whatever it is called Buddha. I mean, really, really, I want my mind to go Buddha, whatever that is. I want the light to turn on Buddha. I want to feel it, experience it, smell it, see it, think it. I want it to be me. Oh, wait a minute. Was I thinking about something? This is how the practice works. Resolve your mind to experience Buddha. And what happens is all those other 8 consciousnesses, when you use the mandala or the scroll as a mandala, and you focus your senses on it, if your mind is still thinking bicycle, sex, food, possessions, well, then you're playing. You're not serious. How are you leaving samsara if that's what you're thinking? Moment to moment to moment to moment. 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. What are you doing? What realms are you picking out moment to moment to moment? Hello? Buddha. Oof. Just wipe the table off. Buddha. Buddha. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. The law of Buddha. Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu, I'm here. I'm focused. Single-mindedly, Buddha. Myoho Renge Kyo. Instantiate. Be here now. My mind of Buddha-ness. Unattached. No, I don't even think that. If your focus is on Buddha when you chant, then that's where you will go. Your 9th consciousness just sitting there snoozing, going, oh man, this is boring. When is this guy going to get around to it? And you go, hey, wake up. He goes, cool. As soon as that 9th consciousness awakens, those other 8 consciousnesses, they just go in your back pocket. They go, oh, hold on. We're not driving anymore. Something much bigger, much greater is happening now. Let's pay attention. Transmigration, transcending. From samsaric obsession, collection, survival, to living. Life, now, being. Ooh, how amazing is this? Yes. What changed? What changed if not your mind? Exactly the point. Our worldly misdeeds and difficult, unchanging, the way we view our, see, I don't like the way that's written, the way we view our karma may have piled up as high as Mount Sumeru. There's the warehouse. He's talking about it. But when we take a strong resolve in this sutra, they will vanish like frost or dew under the sun of the Lotus Sutra. Wham! Man, in one sentence, he said what it took me a half hour to say. Nevertheless, if one commits even 1 or 2 of the 14 slanders set forth in this sutra, one's offense will be extremely difficult to expiate. So what's he talking about there? Those words, that translation, sounds religious, really. Ooh, you do the bad thing, you're going to get punished. But hopefully by now, with my interjection here, you understand what he's actually saying. The only punishment you're going to experience is your own fall from enlightenment. You're going to make your obstacles again. Oh, that's good, that's bad. Welcome back to samsara. Killing a single Buddha would be a far greater offense than destroying all the sentient beings in the major world system, and to violate the sutra's intent would be to commit the sin of taking the lives of all the Buddhas in the 10 directions. One who commits any of these 14 is a slanderer. Killing a single Buddha. What does he mean by that? Does he mean Shakyamuni? Does he mean Bruce? Does he mean Edna the Buddha? Where's Buddha? Who's Buddha? What are you killing? It ain't a person, right? We read the word killing, maybe the translator was thinking killing, as a human. That's not what Nichiren is talking about. He's saying if you don't practice correctly, if you practice with the mind and intent of bolstering yourself, your ego, your identity, you've killed your Buddha potential. You've killed yourself, your Buddha self. That's killing the Buddha. So obviously, if you kill the Buddha, the intent of your practice, are you going to suffer? Well, you've set yourself up for it. It's a real simple yes or no. Hell is a dreadful dwelling of fire, and the realm of hungry spirits is a pitiful place where, driven by starvation, they devour their own children. Very dramatic, right? Very hyperbolic. And it uses the imagery familiar to the people of the day. But you're far more sophisticated than that. We're not practicing a religion with all these spooks and myriad imaginings. The world of hungry spirits is an insatiable state of being. You ever felt that way? Right? Sometimes we call it addiction. And I'm not talking about physical addictions because we've screwed up our body to now crave certain things just to feel normal. I understand, but we got there through our own designs. And if you want to talk about addiction, welcome to samsara. Because all our database building is addiction to being alive. Survival is addiction. Oh, but Sylvain, are you saying we should all kill ourselves? Hell no. I'm just pointing out words, slippery things. So what he's saying is the dreadful hell, it's right here and now. It's the way we experience our lives as a collection of data to somehow instantiate a self, which we never really achieve, but we keep building it, trying to. And the hungry spirits that's our samsaric mind. More, collect, mine. We'll compete with our own child for the last chips in the bottom of the bag. We see our teenager constantly going in the kitchen to eat our food. Damn it. Do you have to eat so much? Right? We feel it. We may not say it. We may hold back and go, well, he's my child. She's my child. She needs to eat. She needs to grow. Oh, man, the responsibility of parenting, right? That's all samsaric baloney. We feel it deeply. But what is that? Right? It's suffering vis-a-vis stress, anxiety. Of course, my child, here, eat mine. And a little voice in the back of your head going, God damn it, I'm hungry. That's the hell of incessant suffering. That's the hell of hunger. Not hunger food, although I used food as an example, but it could be for attention. Oh, you like him best. Oh, you like her better. World of hunger. And we'll devour our own children. Of course, that's what he's talking about. How little our respect for dignity, for life. That's samsara. The realm of Asuras consists of strife, and that of animals is to kill or be killed. The hell of the crimson lotus is so called because the intense cold of this hell makes one double over until one's back splits open and the bloody flesh emerges like a crimson lotus flower. Oh boy, we could make some fun movies with this stuff. It's all hyperbole because it's storytelling. Storytelling of things we can conceive in our samsaric minds to visualize And what is visualizing? Creating more data, identification. It's what we do. And the hell of the Great Crimson Lotus is even more horrible. When one falls into such an evil, difficult place, the fact that one was a ruler of a general or a general, your position, means nothing. Tormented by the wardens of hell, one is no different than a monkey on a string. What use are fame and fortune then? Can one still be arrogant and persist in false beliefs? Stop and ponder, Nichiren says. How rare is a strong resolve that moves one to give alms to the monk who knows the heart of the Lotus Sutra. One will not stray into the life-unaffirming paths, the lower paths. If one does so even once, you'll open a door of understanding and compassion in your life. It took effort to do that, right? It takes effort for you to buy an ebook, to support us on Patreon, or PayPal, right? So this is why I'm always so grateful to you, because it takes a paradigm shift to do that, and you benefit from it. Still greater are the benefits arising from the 10 or 20 contributions, or from 5 years, 10 years, or a lifetime of contributions. They are beyond even the measure of the Buddha's wisdom. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that the rewards of a single offering to the votary of this sutra are 100,000, 10,000, million times greater than those of offering countless treasures to Shakyamuni Buddha for 80 million kalpas. Now, don't miss the point there. And I didn't bring it up to try to encourage you to send more donations. What Nichiren is talking about here is that your offerings, in his example, to Shakyamuni, the person, they'll be helpful to Shakyamuni, but they won't do a whole lot for you. But your offerings, as I pointed out before, when Nichiren starts out his letters, thank you, I've received your this and that, and I've offered them to GoHonzon. Because Nichiren understands that when you make an offering to support your practice, this Sangha, you are making an offering to uphold the correct transmission of the teachings for the experience of Buddha-ness, right? Follow the law, not the person. You may visualize me, for instance, as a great facilitator for you. Thank you for that praise. But it is all my privilege to take my experience of Buddha-ness, my study, and offer it to you honestly, with dignity, that you can feel encouraged, emboldened, single-minded in your pursuit of Buddha-ness. I'm not giving that to you. You're doing that. All I am is a conduit in the moment-to-moment being of all of us. That is appropriate. And that is why you gain in your own experience of Buddha-ness, yeah? When one encounters this sutra, one will overflow with happiness and shed tears of joy. And that doesn't mean, oh, look, I got a book on Lotus Sutra. Wah. Right? When Nichiren says something to the effect of when one encounters this sutra, he's talking about when you and I, when we actually chant and we experience Buddha-ness for the first time. It is overwhelming. that's when a flood of questions come to mind. How is this working? What is it doing? What do these words mean? What are you talking about? Right? That's why this channel. It seems impossible to repay one's debt to Shakyamuni Buddha. But by your frequent offerings to me, Nichiren says, deep in this mountain, you will repay the merciful kindness of both the Lotus Sutra and Shakyamuni Buddha. Right? Nichiren, you don't owe me. I'm the votary. I'm the conduit. Strive ever harder in a strong resolve and never give way to negligence. Yeah, we like to get lazy. All the people appear to have conviction sincerely when they first embrace the Lotus Sutra, but as time passes, they tend to become less devout. They no longer revere or make offerings to the monks, giving themselves up to arrogance and forming distorted views. Wow, do we have lots of examples of that. All right. I'm going to stop there, even though that's in the middle of a paragraph. This is most frightening, he says. Yeah, it's the most frightening when you have the jewel of life in your hand, and the only thing you can think to do with it is make a cool necklace. How tragic is that, yeah? Relax. Put all your efforts into instantiating your Buddha-ness, yeah? You don't have to have the perfect Butsudan. You don't have to have the perfect anything. You already have the perfect life. Buddha. Focus all your attention on that. Everything else will come, right? It's just like a tuning fork. If you have a tuning fork in the the frequency of middle C, and you smack it, is not everything in the environment of that tuning fork suddenly in middle C? Do you not hear it, feel it? Middle C. This is why we chant. It's active meditation. We enliven, we invoke that which is innate, core to all things, moment to moment. Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions, your comments, your emails, tlksylvain@gmail.com. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. Let me know your questions. Right? It's part of our Sangha, part of our practice. So thank you. And in that vein, please like and subscribe. It's important to the algorithms, to everything we've been talking about. If you can make use of the books, the ebooks are a very simple way for you to get them quickly. Not all the books I've published are on ebook page on threefoldlotus.com, but I think most the core ones are. Certainly the new ones are. Many of them, not all of them, are on the bookstore, so you can get them as print. You're going to go to the bookstore anyway when you do the purchase, because that's the engine I use to process payments and that boring stuff. But some of you, many of you, live outside of the United States, and shipping and customs and all that becomes a horrid mess. So email or ebooks was my attempt at a solution for that. So hopefully, I know many of you have bought, so thank you. In the meantime, the most important thing is take care of your health. Get serious about your practice. Not that you're not, but what kind of encouragement do we need every day? I'm just encouraging you. Stay strong. Develop your practice. You'll see the results, guaranteed. And in the meantime, I'm going to stop talking. Wish you a good day. And I'll see you in the next one. All right? Bye for now.